Good morning from Surabaya, Indonesia. And we would like to present to you a traditional dance, and it's called the Javin. It's usually performed in an important occasion. And now, please welcome Tari Zavin by student of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama, Surabaya. Thank you for the dance group. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The second day of iConASET is going to start. Please have a nice seat and stay with us. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Peace be upon you. The Honorable Director of UDUSA, all the Vice Rector of UDUSA, all speakers, all directors and heads of institution LPPM and LPMPI, and HUMAR, the deans and the heads of the study programs, the whole committees, and dearest whole participants and presenters. We are delighted to welcome you to the second day of iConASET International Conference on Applied Science Education and Technology 2022 with the theme Facing Society 5.0, The Challenges. In Auditorium Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya and in our virtual room. Today, we will have 3 sessions of the second main symposium, panel discussion, and present the certificate to our speakers. For the first and second session, will be moderated by Mr. Dr. Ades Juwari M. Home. So please welcome and give applause to our first moderator today.
Well, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Especially today, I have to express my appreciation to the head of the research center, Bapak Ahmad Saifuddin, PhD, and also the speakers, Dr. Wada Al-Qadiri, PhD from Indonesia, and then the second speaker from Malaysia, Dr. Shuma Jaya Standrans. Yeah. I would like you to please come here, then we can sit together here. Ladies and gentlemen, for today, I think we have to listen to the keynote speakers from the 2 speakers directly. First is the topics also dealing with the facing society 5.0 challenges. And the second here is the developing learning communities and society 5.0 here. All right, before we invite the speakers to go to the stage, I would like to invite, please, the speakers to be in the stage, and I would like to read the curriculum vitae. The first speaker, the curriculum vitae is she is a human ecologist and sociologist who has been working as an independent scholar on interdisciplinary studies on societal environmental relations with a focus on the transition to the post-carbon world. She has been a volunteer environmental educator and sustainable food activist for many years. At present, she is working as a lecturer in environmental health, community development, philosophy, and anything related to development studies at Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama, Surabaya, Indonesia. So this speeches here will be done directly, and then I would like to invite the two speakers to come here. Yes. The second speaker, also Dr. Shuma, is she is the doctoral in bioethics. Thank you. In bioethics, education, environmental education, public health, ethics. Doctorate in philosophy in education, human values in sustainable education, University of Sydney, Australia, in 2013. Master of Education in Educational Administration, Assumption International Universities, Thailand, 2004. Advanced Diploma in Education in Human Values, Institutes of Satya Sai Education, Thailand, 2004. And Bachelor's in Science, Sillingham University for Women, Japan University, 1985, and completed training for early childhood education, Persatuan Tadika Malaysia, 1989, and certificate from Social Welfare Department for setting up Tasca Childcare, 1988 year. And professional experience, teacher trainer in education in human values, 2002-2017, online tutoring and Wawasan Open University, 2012-2017, module writer for online masters and undergraduate program, 2012 at present, trainer and education consultant for teachers East and West Malaysia. Position held, member of Society for Preservation of Water, 2002 and 2007, resource person and teacher trainer for Society for Preservation of Water for project on human values based water education in Thailand in cooperation with the Human Settlement Program in Thailand, 2004-2007. Teacher at Satya Sai School, Thailand, 2000-2007. Staff at ISSA Thailand, 2000-2007. And guest lecturer for ISSA students in Thailand, 2007. Satya Sai Academy member, 2014. And youth coordinator. Yes. Well, so many years. But I would like to tell you, she is also the president of ASEAN Community of Educators and Care. So my boss in this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad to be here because we are now listening to the very prominent keynote speakers, and therefore please take this opportunity for our discussion after the two speakers finishing their speeches. Thank you very much. I would like for the first time to the first speaker at our Gal Khatri. Thank you. It's yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Juwairi, for introducing me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be with you today on a conference held in such an advanced and up-to-date topic, Society 5.0. When a forum is set to discuss about a society, it won't be sufficient without a sociological perspective, because sociology is a social science that studies human societies, the interactions and the process that preserve and change them. So that must be the reason why the organizer invited me for a keynote or key themes addressed to a subject, Society 5.0, that occurs across several disciplines. My name's Warda. Next, please. Next slide, please. Excuse me, who is helping me? Yeah, thank you. My name's Warda. In this interdisciplinary forum, I'd like to share what I see as the central themes of this conference, taken from the angles of my field, sociology and human ecology. Next please. Outside the conference room, either physical or virtual, this topic might be felt as being too fancy or too posh. No, page 3, please. Page 3. Page 3. Page 3, back. Yeah, this one, stay here. Outside this conference room, either physical or virtual, this topic might be felt as being too fancy or too posh for countries like Indonesia, where Society 1.0 and 2.0, besides 3.0 and 4.0, are all present up to this day. So we are here getting inspired now by Society 5.0. So all these societies are going to coexist in Indonesia as we sail through the 21st century. Next, please. Page 4. Perhaps not many of us is aware, the Society 1.0, the hunter-gatherers, the forest foragers, survive in few places in East Kalimantan and Papua, for instance. And then, next please. And then Society 2.0, the agricultural society. This is a prominent feature of Indonesia. About 30% of Indonesian population, of Indonesian workforce, continue to contribute to this sector, agricultural, including fisheries. Most of them are small-scale farmers who work on small plots of lands or small-scale artisanal fishers. There are among them are subsistence farmers as well. So subsistence farmers or subsistence fishers are people who grow food or catch fish to maintain, to support their family. So they're leaving only small portion for sale. So many of these farmers, small-scale farmers in Indonesia, are subsistence farmers. Yes, of course, they are struggling. The neoliberal policies and structural adjustment program of the IMF and the World Bank have caused the average landholding farm size of these farmers continue to decline, while the landholding size of the agricultural companies increases. But still, I'd like to emphasize that from the sociological point of view, the hypothetical advancement of the society in clear-cut stages, one over another, as I shown in the previous chart, doesn't work quite well in the global south, in the third world countries, in developing world. So this reality needs to be recognized by scholars from any disciplines working in the global south. Next, please, page 6. What is more, quite the reverse from the perceived trajectory of economic growth and progress, there is nowadays a growing voice that calls to empower the small-scale farmers and producers, which might suggest the revitalization of agricultural society. So this counter trend emerged as a response to social and ecological tensions, climate change, food crisis. Yeah? This also needs to be recognized by scholars who might have assumed that the Industry 4.0 and 5.0 is coming to replace the older, the traditional society, or to regard them negative and unproductive, and thereby needs to be replaced or thrown away. On the contrary, digital technology must be brought into play to help the revitalization of agricultural society. Page 7, please. I think many of you would agree with me that in fact we live in a rather confusing time. We are in a confusing era. We have COVID, we have wars, with the one in Ukraine and Russia, could turn into the World War III if the tension continues to intensify. But we also have globalized world with the information and communication technology help to connect people easier and faster. And within these, we have a rapid pace in technological advancement, industrial robot, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. And at the same time, we also have climate change. This requires immediate, drastic actions to reduce the risk of 2 degrees of warming and protect human civilization from the total collapse. Next, please, page 8. Climate scientists have warned that a massive global mobilization of resources is needed in the coming decades to build a zero emissions industrial system, a low carbon economy, and to set us in the restoration of a safe climate. This is not to mention the global plastic waste crisis, which is posing another enormous challenge. So we need a scale of action that climate scientists and ecologists liken it with the World War II emergency mobilization. Next, please. Now, here we have the Society 5.0. It is a visionary idea put forward by the Japanese government in 2016 for a better, super smart, and more prosperous human-centered society, where humans and machines interact and collaborate more closely to help solving many problems. I will begin with the positive sides. I'd like to highlight what perhaps many of us have heard, the potentials of this latest industrial revolution to better work with big data to help solving many problems. We heard from Professor Jack Lee yesterday, a fascinating development about the application of AI, artificial intelligence, on health services. This is amazing. And then, in climate change studies, a promising example is already there. Artificial intelligence helped to make sense of the large volume of data recorded by satellites, drones, and sensors throughout the planet to better inform environmental policies and debates. This is a promising example. And then the application of digital technology in public health response to COVID-19 pandemic is quite obvious too. With a reliance on telecommunication infrastructure and internet availability, digital technology was used to manage and solve the COVID crisis through population surveillance, case identification, contact tracing, and evaluation of intervention, and so on. So it's quite incredible how it connected large online data sets, billions of mobile phones, devices, and computing resources. So in that sense, it's absolutely incredible. So in general, the exponents of the visionary scheme of Society 5.0 believe that the application of a variety of technological solutions would enable the substitutions or replacement of natural resources, like to design systems that reduce greenhouse gas emission and to increase responsible production, to reduce loss of foodstuff, loss of energy, for instance, and eventually to make sustainable industrialization possible. So in that sense, Industry 5.0 and Society 5.0 are promising development. And in that circumstance, I'd like to add, an emphasis on applied science education could be a defining characteristic of the coming decade. Page 10, please. Next, please. Having said that, I also need to emphasize that we must bear in mind the latest industrial revolution, which makes the Society 5.0 possible, brings new challenges as well. Artificial intelligence and machine learning pose significant opportunities and important risks at the same time. Smartphones, tablets, and app stores with almost unlimited possibilities are already here. becoming symbols of the digital revolution we are the subject of. Digital technology has taken an increased importance in the way we learn, decide, act, and interact. Big data, the Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence are in the background that will create smart homes, smart schools, smart factories, and smart cities. For some, all this makes our lives more comfortable and interesting. For others, this innovation paved the way to the degradation of human values. As pretty much everyone knew, and so many said and wrote already, morality and ethics are the cause for concerns in the so-called post-human world. That the advanced digital technology would remake the world into. This raised a lot of questions about the sources of morality. Next, please. What we have already at the moment is the misuse of technology and algorithms to generate targeted misinformation and propaganda to influence public opinion and elections. Next, please. Happening in Indonesian cyberspace is a glaring example. Next, please. It becomes quite unclear now, page 13. Next. It becomes quite unclear now who is supposed to be responsible to regulate and create the framework, whether the government or high-tech companies or global civil society. So those are among the challenges of Society 5.0 or advanced digital technologies on social spheres. Next, please. Apart from that, in my studies of industrial pollution and waste, I found that digital technologies are part of environmental problems through the growing e-waste, electronic waste. Due to the nature of digital technology as it is now, we are drowning in the electronic waste because we buy new devices too soon and don't recycle the old stuff fast enough. First, because the concept of replacement rather than repair. And then secondly, technology redundancy, the duplication of critical components or functions of a system with the intention of increasing reliability of the system. This is inevitable. This is indispensable. We cannot get rid of it once we rely on the digital technology. And thirdly, because of software development that forces hardware upgrades, and so on and so forth. And yet, on the other hand, at the same time, as I said earlier, we need a scale of lifestyle changes that climate experts and ecologists liken it with the World War II emergency mobilization to build zero emissions industrial system and low carbon economy, and to set us in the restoration of a safe climate, and to seriously confront the global plastic waste crisis. Next, please. Of course, I know many people hate environmentalists.
Yes. 5 more minutes.
Yeah. I'm approaching the last one. The very nature of environmentalism leads to negative stereotyping, as the environmentalists aggressively promote changes and advocate unconventional practices, they become associated with hostile militancy, unconventionality, and even eccentricity. However, it is the task of academic world to uphold the traditions of critical thinking and reflection. We scholars are not merely cheerleaders of technologies. We have an obligation to apply critical analysis on how the technology affects humans' life. Speak up, have the courage to do that. No one can deny that the world is gripped with multiple crises now. Our world is at a turning point. Next, please, the last page, please. We need to reimagine our futures together and rethink our education together. Whether we are going to be the digital slaves or the digital masters depends solely on our ability to strike the right balance between progress on the one hand and our natural resources on the other, between the pettiness of being trendy, of tech toys, fashions, material comforts on the one hand, and being humane on the other. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you very much for the very beautiful presentations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think as the committee discussed this morning, the speaker will be directly by the second speaker. Then after that, we have the session of discussions. Thank you very much. Welcome, the rector, Professor Dr. Ahmad Zasidi. Yeah. They have already presented the second. Now, the second speaker will be presented by Dr. Shima, and this is the also topics that related to facing Society 5.0, the challenges. Thank you very much. Now, time is yours, Dr. Shima. Yes. Yeah.
My respects to everyone here, to the director, to all the students, the authorities of the university, Dr. Juari, and also to Dr. Valda. This is a big opportunity for me to come here and share some knowledge from my research of so many years in education as well as I'm just like Dr. Varda, very interested in the environment as well, because we are in the Asian regions where we are not very aware of the consequences of how we are going to use technology and what is going to happen after we use technology and the tools that we use. Okay. So now, promises of Society 5.0, Dr. Varda has already touched on all the points, how we started from the hunters to the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and then we moved on to Society 5.0. Looking at the Japanese who are moving far ahead and implementing technology in Japan, they have stated, Fukuyama in 2016, in anticipation of such global trends, Society 5.0 was presented as a core concept in the 5th Science and Technology Basic Plan adopted by the Japanese Cabinet in January 2016. Now, what is the dream of Society 5.0? The dream is going to be a common dream, a global dream. But we have to now be very critical in our thinking when we apply this. Because the dream states that we all will have a balancing of industry, techno-socialization, economic advancement. If you look, we have been doing this right from the start, and it is a fight or the balance between human evolution and environmental evolution and technological evolution. Okay, we are trying to deal with things. Today, some of you are with your mobile, so you are with technology. You are with people, we are people. So people, technology, and things around us. So it has been there all the while. But as we evolve, we are going into a more complex phase of understanding how to work with technology. Next, please. Now, you look at the ASEAN regions, I see Japan quite ahead of us. Japan has shrinking labor force. That means they will not have enough people to work in the industries compared to before, with increased social security costs. So the cost of living for the population is going to go higher. Whereas the labor force, you are having decreasing labor force. 75 million will decrease to 53 million and increasing social security costs. Life is going to be difficult unless they move forward very fast, replacing their labor costs with technology. And that is why you can see many students, even in Malaysia. I was just going into Google to find out how many of them are interested in STEM education. STEM education is far ahead in America. They're trying to implement with mathematics and with all disciplines. So you have STEAM, you have STEM, you have different scientific and technological courses integrated with STEM education. So we must be aware of the changes happening all over the world. Yes? Next, please. This is a small picture that I took from the internet, from the Japan illustration. It promises, Society 5.0 promises that we will have comfort, we'll have vitality and higher quality lives. If you look on the left side, they say that it is going to benefit everyone. Technology 5.0 is going to help us. How? That's what we have to learn now. It will provide goods and services that granularly address manifold latent needs without disparity. So we are going to get things without working too hard. Why? Because we don't have to work too hard, because the robots will replace many of the labor force. Okay? And then vitality, liberated from cumbersome work, effectively utilizing time. So instead of having many people churn a lot of data, looking at the research aspects of data, what happens? Robots will do it for us. Yes? We are going to be replaced. The labor will be replaced by robots. And this is the future. Okay? On the other side, if you have a look, you have advanced fusion of cyberspace and physical space. You are already on your Facebook. You are on Skype. You're using cloud computing. So we are using cyberspace now. Okay? And high quality lives. Many of us know that with technology, we can multitask. We can talk to our friends. We can at the same time do our projects. Everything can be done in cyberspace. Okay? So this is what Society 5.0 looks like now. From the ASEAN perspective, we are learning from Japan. Okay? Can we go to the next slide, please? This is another slide I found interesting. What the Society 5.0 promises. Today we have a sickness, we go to the hospital, we cure ourselves. But Society 5.0 is supposed to help us prevent those diseases. So I am in the night class with Dr. Daryl Mesa, professor in ethics and environmental education and public health. So we learn a lot from these classes, and I would also like to introduce many of you to these classes, because they help us to understand ethics and also the latest findings from research. He takes us through this class. We have the largest number from Philippines attending the class at the moment. Although I'm from Malaysia, I'm an Indian born in Malaysia, so I'm a Malaysian. And I'm trying to share this knowledge so that we can collaborate and learn more. Okay? It's going to be very useful for you in the future, especially with the master's program, if it's coming into your university, and even as bachelors, you can spear ahead by learning more and trying to understand what's happening in other countries. So looking at another dream is automating the agricultural industries, optimal home delivery. So I saw a picture in the internet long back. a drone coming to your house, a drone, you know drone, right? It comes to your house and then it gives you something, it brings the package to you, to your house, and then you insert your credit card and then the drone gives you the receipt and then the drone goes back. Automated, right? So you will not have to go outside your home to buy things, okay? At the same time, automating the agricultural industry. Now, there was a case in Australia, very interesting case, where a farmer had to work very hard to actually produce, to take away the weeds, okay? And the case is such that a very important innovative research finding was of a robot that can actually help do the weeding part. But what happened? He said, I cannot trust because I have to pay so much for this robot to actually clear up. And hence he decided that till he finds that there is evidence that it works well, he is not going to pay so much money to get it. So this is our doubt of technology, and when Society 5.0 comes or is going to progress, we will have these doubts. Should we pay so much money? We are in that kind of situation now, right? Even our universities, when you want to get some technology which is very expensive, you will think many times. Then the next is on automatic production by robots, okay, which is already there. And I think you know how robots in the electronic industry produces and also process a lot of information. Next slide, please. So you see the cloud services, how they are going to change all the industries, hospitals using smart grid. What is smart grid? Does anyone know what smart grid is? These are electronic systems. Okay, electronic systems that is going to help the hospitals to have their own system, software, okay? And you will be dealing with more technology. And then comes the smart infrastructure, traffic flow optimization. So if there is an emergency in your car when you're driving, the car will send a signal automatically. Where? To the place where it's supposed to receive the signal and send help. So we are going towards that stage where we will be having technology. When I went to India a year back, they have an app. I think you might have in Indonesia. This app, as soon as you download and you travel in the night, especially for females, they just have to open the app and alert if you are in a taxi, if you are in danger, and the office comes to know about it. So they will immediately, the police station, they will immediately be alerted, they will send people to help. So this is for the public taxi, not Grab service, because Grab service is registered, right? But for the public, there's going to be more security using apps, okay? So in the same way, for smart buildings and many other different kinds of lifestyles, we are going to have help from technology, okay? So this is the good aspect and is the dream of Society 5.0. Next slide, please. So you can look at during the pandemic, what happened in 2020. ASEAN regions, you have Philippines, Myanmar, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Brunei, and Laos. What happened? Decrease in working hours due to the pandemic in ASEAN and member states 2020. You can see the highest was in Philippines, the highest number of less working hours. Okay, and so you can see that we all have lost a lot on production and income, thereby bringing our GDP of the country lower. This is for the ASEAN region. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, decrease in working hours due to the pandemic. This is comparing the world, ASEAN, the Pacific, and ASEAN. Okay, as you can see, Asia and the Pacific and the ASEAN region, it's almost like compared to the whole world, we are on par with highest loss, and this is in the developing countries. Okay. Next slide, please. Performance. Now, what are we looking at when we look at Society 5.0? One is performance management systems. Uncertainty is the only certainty. Uncertainty. We do not know what's going to happen. What fits and what does not fit as future opportunity. We do not know, okay? What we need and we do not have. How do we know this? As undergraduate students, You have to really look at the research aspect of your own field and other fields. If you want to understand and improve life in Indonesia, we have to research. We have to go deep into research and understand what is the data there. Why? Why is this important in Society 5.0? If you do not have the research skills, you will have to go for separate training when the technology comes in. And this research skill is to look at quantitative data as well as qualitative data and how to look at it mathematically. We need to have the skills of reasoning and problem solving. So engineering students will be introduced to mathematics, sure, but what about the other fields? So this is where the issue lies. All of us will have to be skilled in mathematics because when technology comes, you have to read data, okay? Motivation, collaborative, teamwork, innovative, creative entrepreneur. Because I have a student now in education, not one, two students looking at business in education. Because when you use technology and when you buy technology, and we are in the Faculty of Education, we will have to know how to conduct business. Without that, we will not be able to perform in the future. Okay? So business, education, technology has to go together. All these three, yes? Competitive teams through collective intelligence. Aligning information according to the need. How are we going to create sustainable models? How technology keeps customers. We need to know how to also keep the right technology for customers. Next slide, please. Now, cyber, humans, and physical space, as I said earlier, these are the important terms we must know. Internet of Things, robotics, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, metaverse, big data, blockchain. So I'm running a course as the head of Faculty of Education in Manipal Global Next University in Malaysia. I already have 2 students who are doing their PhD in metaverse as well as on virtual reality. So they're doing their doctoral program. Why? Because this is the latest that is found in technology. How to use technology. So this is going to be used in all the fields, not only in education, every field. Okay. So next slide, please. How does technology communicate with humans? So you know you have smartphones. Many of you have switched on your phone at the moment. I can see some of you on the phone. So you see how connected you are with the phone. Okay. Then the tablet, other devices, automated systems and artificial intelligence and cloud. You will have big data, a lot of data coming in for all the fields, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an engineer, whether you are an environmentalist, you will have to deal with data, okay? Communication and collaborative technology. So what is the solution? We have to collaborate. All of you have to learn how to work with each other, okay? Security and emergency, especially with these two, in these 2 areas. Next slide, please. Individual skill and globalization. Now, I was looking through the internet. I saw few universities in America. One is McGill, and McGill is running courses that is on developing computational thinking and mathematic modeling. They are not looking just, they're trying to bring the process of technology, and they're trying to teach students now what is the process that you have to use when you have to go through when you are calculating. This is to increase or sharpen your mathematical skills of problem solving. Engaging students in collaborative research projects, integrating language, arts, mathematics, and computing. This is just one example. So what happens if you go into this course? Suppose your university comes in with computational thinking and mathematic modeling. You can become a data analyst. You can become an expert in mathematics. You can become a bank analyst. These are the jobs, a website developer. All these skills will help you to move on all these fields. Human and computer interfaces, designing usable interfaces, data science education, analytics and engineering. Okay, so these are the different terms that we have to be familiar with. You should be by now, so that when you enter master's level, choose subjects which are interdisciplinary as well. Okay, online on Coursera, so many courses are on. Next slide, please. Challenges to solve: technology evolution and human evolution. Decision making will be taken over by machine. Why? Now we are deciding, right? Tomorrow when Society 5.0 comes or is developed higher or evolved, you will be having your own team working on some data. But where does the data come from? It comes from the machine. The machine is actually going to decide for us when big data takes over. We cannot make decisions then. The machine will make decision for us. Now itself, we are using Google for everything. So when the machine takes over, we have to work collaboratively, and that is called collective intelligence. When a team joins together, what happens is you are working on intelligence, collective intelligence. You cannot say, everybody cannot say, I want to become the leader. When you are in Society 5.0, you can have only one leader. We have to work together because the leader depends on the collective intelligence of a group. Okay? Partner with society to develop tools, co-joint development, use case meaningful for stakeholders. And then huge resources. We also have to have future proof for skill set. Future proof means we have to be ready. At least 10 years of funding we must have when we are bringing technology at high scale to any discipline. That is why I always told Dr. Juwari and also our organization from Philippines, Brunei, we have a small organization, we have joined together. We are giving training, we are also allowing students to present because students are finding it very difficult to pay so much. You have to register $450 for one conference, right? So ours is, we have made it like an international conference. Students can present free. So everything is free, but when you publish, you must have the skills to publish an academic journal which is accepted globally. So you have to work towards that. So we are trying to help for this international conference where students can present. It's free. Partner with your primary stakeholders as opposed to remote users. Like Dr. Varda said, we can become slaves. Slaves means you work for other people, other countries. Information will come from outside and then come back to one point that is highly developed, maybe Japan or Singapore. And then that information will come to us to keep doing work. So I'm just talking about developed countries and developing countries. We have to now work together so that we develop the skills so that when many universities join together, many students join together for research, what happens is you come out with innovative technology. With innovative technology, you are able to help your country and also move away from becoming the labor force for the rest of the world. Yes, very important. What we need in challenges to solve, I think we can move. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, now what multiple categories of stakeholders. So you will have different stakeholders, right? Educators, discipline, you have multidiscipline. For example, if Dr. Varda is going to do something on environment and she will need she will be related to many universities that is dealing with technology and environment and education and also field work. Now, what I forgot to inform you is that Society 5.0 will actually help you to experience the implementation of the data, not just the information. When you just get information, you have to use the technology to implement something. So we are moving from the information age to information and implementation. Implement the technologies in your area and see what is happening. So who will be the drivers of innovation? Is it going to be somebody else and we just do the work? Or are we going to be the drivers? Are we going to be the leader for this? Yes? Who makes the decisions? Do we make the decision in Indonesia? Or do we let other people make the decision for us? This is very important for you to think. government mandates. It's going to be there. When the COVID came, what happened? Government told in Malaysia, for example, all of you must wear masks. So we will have certain rules and regulations from the government. But risk takers, we are the risk takers, the universities. We have to start collaborating, provide and creating new technology, co-create, okay? And then implement. And then we have to see how successful it is. When we co-create, the cost is less. Money is less, we don't have to pay so much. Otherwise, you have to wait for some funding from somewhere, okay? Next slide, please. Market copying, building independent voice for consumer protection. This is the future. We can actually go into this. We can try to protect, because technology comes in, we can protect from health, addiction, education, environment, cultural perspective. This is called consumer protection, is going to become very important in the future. Consumer protection. What is consumer protection? When you have technology working, and when we do work and make profit, some companies will make profit. They don't care about what happens to the society. So we need to have a voice for that. So we can produce, join together collaboratively to work for consumer protection when Society 5.0 is evolving. We should be prepared and start working on it. Next slide, please. ASEAN journey in education, technology and environment, challenges, technology, environmental education. These are the 3 areas we have to focus. And under education comes all the disciplines. Okay, next slide, please. Why is knowledge sharing, there's another is there. Why is knowledge sharing important? Why is technological collaboration important? Why is training important? We can train. Now we have Zoom. We have webinar, GoToWebinar, so many different platforms. We can do free training for anyone. We can work together, right? So this training can help us to move forward. The rest, I think I've already spoken. Next slide, please. Developing smart learning. What is smart? I'm sure you saw this word smart. What is S? S stands for self-directed. M for motivation. A for adapting. Okay. R for, R is resource enriched. And T is for technology embedded. This is what SMART is for. Okay. So these are the 4 areas that we are moving ahead. We need to be leaders in SMART. SMART. S is not following and running behind your friend to decide which course you have to go. You have to decide for yourself, self-directed. You are a leader for choosing your path, okay? Organizational, institutional, corporate culture. So these are this area. Now this is like a train. I was just reading a lot and I understand that organizational leadership will now deal with collective intelligence. So the leader will be in charge of supervising the different groups of collective teams with collective intelligence, okay? At the same time, we have to learn how to adapt, okay? Social infrastructure, we have to ensure that the social infrastructure works together with the university through research. I tell you what happened. If you look at a case in Barbuda and Antigua, these are 2 countries, Caribbean. When, I think it was Barbuda, they had hurricanes, Hurricane Irma. Okay, and during this hurricane, there was a lot of destruction, 80% of destruction of lives of people. And during this time, what happened? Who came to help them first? You cannot wait for funding. Funding takes time. From the north, we are south, developing countries, right? Who came to help them? Their neighbor. It is their neighbor who came to help. Antigua's came and gave them food, shelter, everything. So in the same thing with Philippines. Japan helped Philippines. I'm sure many other countries helped. But it's the easiest for neighboring countries. We must be always friends. Sometimes politics come in between, but we must understand as educators and also workers in the future that neighboring help is the most important help that we can get during disaster. And Philippines, I think they lost a lot because they, if you look at the geographical location, There's a lot of disasters happening in Philippines. I know Indonesia also because of earthquake. I was in Bali. I was caught in Bali for 1 week because the volcano erupted. I could not go out of the country. Okay, and then there are floods. Now in Penang we have floods. So there's water problem in Penang in Malaysia. Technological rearrangements. So we have to rearrange data and technology for Society 5.0. Next slide, please. Education, technology, and cyberspace. A cyber or cyber security threat is a malicious act that seeks to damage data, steal data, or disrupt digital life in general. So what's going to happen? A lot of destruction. People will try to steal your data. Because with your data, they can do so many things. Like Facebook now. You go and like and dislike. What happens? Facebook is collecting all your data. Right? To make sure, and there are studies from Harvard, if I'm not mistaken, those who are living your life on Facebook, liking and disliking, your mental well-being is bad, is going down. So try to get away from Facebook, too much time in Facebook, unless there was a study by Bello et al. In 2019. She said that students were actually interested in trying to learn from their mobile. Just an example.
5 more minutes.
Okay, I'll finish. I'm finishing actually. In India, the farmers are actually using their mobiles to learn farming. Whereas during their study, they found that students thought that they can only go to Facebook, enjoy WhatsApp, this and that. But through Facebook, you can actually learn a lot. There are many communities. Education, environment, so many different knowledge sharing is happening there. Okay, yeah, you can move to the next slide, please. Ethical aspects of usage of technology, how to use technology, ethical aspects of sharing information. Dr. Varda touched on this. Skills in collaboration, skills in communal sharing of socio-technological and scientific sharing of knowledge. So ethics is going to become important because there'll be many people who want to hack, phishing, right? Taking away your information. So ethics will become very important. Ethics of knowledge sharing. Next slide, please. Practical aspects, leveraging people and things. So now you see, today if I do a quantitative or a qualitative analysis in research, I do only with people or animals, right? I look at people or animals or places. But next time, we have to research people and also the machine, the robot. So we have added members now. It's not just us. It's going to be another member added to us for research. Forming real and cyber world. This is what I was talking about. Forming communities in niche areas. So specific areas. You will specialize in specific areas. You become an expert. You will be interested in collecting data in that particular discipline. Okay, so this is how you specialize. Big question, why leverage ICT? Why do you need to learn ICT? Go into ICT. ICT is the key to know more information about whatever discipline you are taking. Okay, next slide. This is the disaster I spoke. And this side disaster is from Barbuda and how Antigua's helped them in the Caribbean. Next is Philippines, this recent disaster, okay? And the neighboring countries are the best to help. They got help. They got from Red Cross, from Japan, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And many other places helped them, even Australia. So I find that the geographical area is important to look at. Next slide, please. Focus on education for smart life, rearranging knowledge and knowledge management, collaborating with other institutions for funding for research, instead of looking for funding from abroad, managing niche areas by being project-oriented, accepting failures, important. When you do a project, if you fail, it's okay. Your research supervisor cannot say it's wrong, okay? Because this is what the future is going to be. Moving through continuous adaptation and problem solving. Understanding global impacts, challenges and mechanism to monitor and evaluate, as well as to build trust in an ethical manner. Next slide. I think that's it. It's all the references, just one reference. Thank you very much. And I hope that you learned something from my talk. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So thank you very much for the two speakers, yeah, audience. Yeah. We are glad again to be here today because the two speakers here are complementary. When the first topic combined to the second ones, both are complementary. The first one here talking about the evolution and revolutions of the industries from the primitive into 014 to 5. And then finally, we have problems and the challenges with the technology and human life and social values. The second one, on the point of view of the economic and also educational point of view, Dr. Soma also talking about from the evolution, from the techno-economics, and then also the technology, and then also the threat of the technology, and finally we have also the problem with social and human being values. So today, now the time for you, about 20 minutes for question and answer. One will be for the first speaker and the second one for the second speaker in the first session. That if we still have time, then we can continue the next session for both the first and the second speaker. Okay? The audience, please, question one, question two, yes. Number one, okay, number two, yes. Please mention your affiliation or university or college and your name and to whom or the first speaker or the second speaker. There are three, yeah? Your affiliation, your name, and to the speaker one or the second speaker two. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Hamida from University Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. In the next few years, the younger generation is faced with challenges that are difficult to solve. They need to a lot of skills to face the future. What we need to do to keep out of the debt and not have difficulty dealing with the challenges and skills that we need to master in order to develop our values so that we become people with a lot of knowledge. Thank you.
Well, in communication, you saying, can you open the mask because mimic can help us to predict. Yeah.
I'm sorry. In the next few years, the younger generation is faced with challenges that are difficult to solve. They need to a lot of skills to face the future. What we need to do to keep out of debt and not have difficulty dealing with the challenges and skill that we need to master in order to develop our values so that we become people with a lot of knowledge.
To the first speaker or the second?
Second.
The first speaker, yes.
Thank you for the question. I'm happy that you brought this up because this is what education is about. I think what we have to look at is what does your country need? When you have a problem, it is you who suffer, right? So you have to look at what we need in society. Learn the skills by always doing research online. Don't waste time on Facebook. Research online. Because, yeah, Instagram, all that is not going to help you. Instagram gives you news, but you need to follow certain groups, right? So you have to have the latest news. You must know which path to take. You must know computational skills. You must know how to research. You also need to learn data science. If you know these few, you are able to go into any discipline. Okay? This is the foundation. And language, of course. You need to master the language. Because if you read, you don't understand the terms used, then you cannot proceed, right? So now the chips before was banana chips. Now the chip is microchip. There's a difference. So we have to know what are the terms used for technology and computational skills. Go online, there's a lot of research. I researched to give you all this information. I researched for 2 days. So I found this very informative. I learned a lot as well. Yeah, thank you.
So the key is to get, by learning to get the information, yes. so that we understand some of the key terms in dealing with the science and on the research by online. Thank you very much. The second question, please. I saw the gentleman behind the first questioner was standing up, and then yes.
Good morning, Dr. Shuma, Mr. Juari, MTS. Yeah, welcome here in Surabaya, Dr. Shuma, and good morning, Mrs. Warda. Here, I'm Tias from S1 English Education Department. Here, I would like to ask you, okay, as we know that technology is very important in this era, and however, technology cannot replace the role of teacher as it cannot give human touch to the student. So when I teach online compared to the offline, absolutely, these two methods have different effect to the students. So what do you think about this? Thank you.
The second or first speaker?
My question refers to Dr. Shuma.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually teaching completely online, globally. I have students from UAE, Africa. I have students from India, as well as students from Malaysia. And there's a Russian student in Malaysia from doing online. Now you asked me, the human touch is very important in the primary years. Because I've also done my kindergarten course. I ran a kindergarten. I've taught primary. I was also a secondary school teacher, and I was also the principal of a school. I worked with them directly, and I did research, and I found that it's most important in the schooling time to learn from your teachers. But when you finish and you're entering graduate studies, you don't need the human touch much. The teachers must be good when you are in school. What you need is more facilitation of knowledge and how to implement in the real world. And that happens when you go to university. Experiential knowledge is very important. Knowledge is very important. Okay, so the human touch works for younger students, not for the older students. There's no need anymore. You are big, you're an adult. You're supposed to be independent. Yes? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we still have time for the second session. Yes, two questions, please. Yes, one, and the second one, one more, please. One, oh yes, the head of the research center. Yes, thank you. Please directly to speak to mention your affiliation name and to which speaker, yeah, one or two. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chuari. What a new bright insight that I got from the material that has been presented by two presenters. So that's why I have two questions. One question to Dr. Shuma, one question to Dr. Warda. First of all, I would like to ask to Dr. Warda, to what extent and how effective human-centered society can balance economic advancement with the resolution of social problems? How effective? And to Dr. Shuma, how far we can depend on technology and education? While when we deal with students, we still need direct treatment and heart to understand the student itself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a one for me. That's a huge question, actually. That's too big, the question about how effective can the human-centered or technology help to solve the economic social problem. Is that your question? Yeah. So it's still yet to be seen, because as I explained in my presentation, for countries like Indonesia, for society like Indonesia, we have a mix, and the mixture is so great. Yeah, we have society 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and 5.0. All these societies exist, occurs at the same time in Indonesia. So yeah, I think the best way we can do now for academic world like us is to, as Dr. Suma explained already, we just need to advance to the knowledge, yeah, and collaborate. And yeah, the challenge is I can say that the challenge is big, because for me, from sociological point of view, we have, and also human ecologist point of view, the problem is, I don't know, the problem for we don't have just one answer for that, yeah? So it's still yet, we still yet to see that. Maybe you can add that, Dr. Suma?
I'm trying to think. You're talking about technology and the social issues, right? How it's going to solve. Yeah, we have to use human intelligence to act, and also the human heart. If you don't use these two together, that's why I studied ethics. Every night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at night I sit in a forum which is global with Professor Daryl Mesa, and learn from them how you can look at ethics. I give you an example for ethics. If you are going to do something, find out whether it is the best for many people, not for yourself, okay? Find out what you do is the best for many of them. Is it useful? Is it necessary? Then you implement, okay? Then you are sure that you are helping everyone. This is in Dr. Jumsai's class, who's a scientist, space scientist from Thailand. He taught us 3 rules. One is it right? Is it necessary? Is it useful for many people? If you follow this, then you don't have to worry. Okay, that is one. And then the technology can be used in any way, because you're only taking, it's a tool. You're using the data from there. See whether it is useful for many people. Unlike Facebook, they collect data, they make money, they become billionaires, right? It's not ethical at all. Okay, and they do it by changing the rules and moving what to say, when you click, you are supposed to know how to save yourself, and by clicking on certain icons, and we are not aware of it. Later we find out that our facts, everything is taken, the data is taken from Facebook to help them. So they're not helping the world, okay? They're helping themselves. So they're using technology to help certain group of people. We shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. One more question, yeah, from Dr. Ahmad Saifuddin. Yeah, please.
Yeah, the second question he asked me was human-centered. I'll just go quickly on that. You see, human values is something you teach children. I come to Thailand, I've gone to Jakarta. I've come here, people are so nice to be with. But politics bring the bad news there, okay? We love Indonesia. I've got friends who have traveled and we say that people are so nice, right? I went to Thailand, it was good. So human values is nothing but the culture that we hold. When we go from here, we cannot forget you because you have treated us so well. That's a culture, right? So you studied in school and you have been taught very well how to behave, everything. But the knowledge part we have to do very fast. And because the Indonesia has developed, but we have to develop more.
Okay, one more question. One more question, yes. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Ahmad Yunusa. First question for Dr. Wardah Al-Khatiri. Okay, integration between environmental aspects in sociology is very crucial actually. Because of UNUSA has Department of Public Health, and under department there is environmental health. So what do you feel and what you suggest for this university? What they will provide for students, for example, how to improve their knowledge to implement for real cases, for example, in Indonesia? This is the first question. And the second question for Dr. Sumaya, I think in line with, okay. So first question must be, okay. Integration between sociology and environmental aspect, I think is very crucial because UNUSA has Department of Public Health. So under Department of Public Health Division of Environmental Health, what do you feel and what do you suggest for the university? What we must provide for students, for example, how to improve their knowledge in terms of socio and environmental aspect to implement in community or real cases, for example. So what you suggest about this university? So the second question for Dr. Sumaya, I think in line with the TIAS, in Indonesia, I think is almost developing countries implementing everything online, particularly for online courses. There is a dilemma in people, particularly Indonesia, in terms of quality. People believe that if everything online do, the quality lower compared face to face in the class, right? So what do you feel? For example, in the this university must be there, must be there. So what you suggest? I think particularly for UNUSA because we plan to provide it in the future. Thank you very much.
Yes. Maybe Dr. Wata first.
Yeah, thank you. I think you have, that's a crucial question, actually. I have been thinking about that, and I have proposed just right before the pandemic began. I proposed to the department to have two things. Yeah, first is the general lecture for environmental, to create environmental awareness for all department, so for all students. Yeah. And then secondly, because the public health department has got an environmental health courses, so it's the best place to have an intra-curriculum, a group to train students to be the environmental educator, because that's what I've been doing I'm a volunteer environmental educator for a long time, and also especially for sustainable food movement as well. And that's what I offer already to the university to help develop students, to make groups of students who can do that as their, what do you call it? Social work or social services for the public, yeah, for the community. Yeah, so that's my answer.
Thank you. 2 more minutes if you give additional answers. Yeah, okay, thank you.
No, this is for the second question he had asked me. Okay, now look, your question. I was teaching online from 2012 at Wawasan Open University, and I was dealing with diploma and master's students, and I found that students' retention, if you want to keep students online or to increase their motivation, you can start with blended learning. So they come to the university once a month, assignments should be done online, but some of the students I realize is not doing very well with academic writing because they have to do projects, right? And during the projects, they don't know how to write. So this training can be done face to face in the classroom itself. You can have people to come and teach them how to do academic writing. And then once that group moves to the second year, they don't have to come very often to the class. So you can manage that way, because I found that students who are working after their undergraduate degree, they are not able to spend so much of time even online. Leave alone coming to the university, even online they're finding it difficult. So what I do is they usually contact us on WhatsApp. I form groups, I talk to them, I make sure that they are emotionally satisfied, and I give them enough documents online for them to help them. And if they are slightly weak, say that, okay, I will give you a 20-minute session on Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is very easy. So I used to use Microsoft Teams to teach. Even now we are teaching using Microsoft Teams. So it's online is fine. You start with blended and also do additional training face to face, so that students can come. You give them first 30 minutes teaching, another 30 minutes you give project, group work, so that they can talk to their friends. They're coming mainly to meet their friends, not even the lecturers, right? So they meet their friends, and then after that they collaborate, do the project, go back home, they're happy. This is because, you know why? Online requires three important aspects. One is the social presence, physical presence, technological presence. These three. So you must give them the social presence where they meet each other. Then the technology must be there. And the third one is the even the lecturer's presence. Like I said, the relationship between the lecturer and the students. This is also important. Otherwise, you will find students dropping out if you have only online at the beginning. Master's level, PhD level, no problem, online.
Thank you very much for the solutions. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the audience, because time is very limited, today is a Friday, very short time, but we have been listening to the two speakers and then the question and answers. And I think this topic, because the theme is facing society 5.0 and the challenges, and finally we have found some challenges. However, we have already got the solution from the two speakers today. Now we already have got it. And please give a big applause to the two speakers here today. Thank you very much. I would like to give the time and then to, oh yes, there is another one for giving the placards maybe. Yeah, because we are still waiting from the committee. Is it the MC? Yes. This is the, oh yeah. Here is the placards, yes. Yes. Yeah, this is the placard from, yes.
Are you?
It looks like that.
Look like
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ahmad Zati. And then this is the rector, our rector, the rectors of the just, yes, maybe you give a special pitch, yes. Well, lady, yes, this is, yeah. Thank you very much. I would like to give the session and time to the committee and the MC. Yeah, thank you very much, the rector, Professor Dr. Engineer Ahmad Zasiti Engineering, for giving the tokens of the placards to the first speaker and the second speaker. Okay, the time is given to the MC and the committee. Thank you very much for the session. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Juari, and all the speakers. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and the last session or the third session of the second day's main symposium, panel discussion and present the certificate to our speaker will be moderated by Mr. Nailul Althar, SSMPD. Please welcome and give applause to our next moderator today.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for the chance given to me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Director of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yazidi, Master of Engineering, and the Honorable Prof. Beni Cahyono from the Coventry University. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nailul Autor, and as the moderator of today's agenda. I'm very happy to see you all here and welcome to all of you to this seminar entitled The Imperative of Digital Skills in Supply Chain Innovation, which will be presented by Prof. Beni Cahyono. Second, let me ask the moderator to read the bio note of Prof. Beni Cahyono. Prof. Beni Cahyono is a professor of sustainability and supply chain management at Coventry University, UK. His research interest is in the area of sustainable operation and supply chain management. He is an engineer by education but has a vested interest in ensuring the achievement of triple sustainability objectives, doing good for people, planet, and profit. He has published over 100 papers in revered academic journals, conference proceedings, books, practitioners' journal, and newspaper. He has successfully completed the supervision of 14 doctoral students and over 100 master students, and currently leads the team of 6 PhD students. There are 3 from Indonesia. Prof. Cahyono is actively involved in nurturing Indonesian postgraduate students, early career researchers, and academic colleagues in the UK and Indonesia. In total, he has over 30 university partners in Indonesia. Before the presentation starts, let me tell you how the presentation will go. First, Prof. Beni Cahyono will be invited to present the material. After that, there will be the question and answer session followed by conclusion. Now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Prof. Beni Cahyono. Prof. Beni Cahyono, the floor is yours.
Very good morning to everyone from here from Coventry University. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. That's why you see my background. It's pretty dark. So once again, thank you very much for inviting me for the second time to UNUSA to give some talk on this very conference. So allow me to share my screen if that's all right with you. So the title of my presentation today, excuse me, I just need to redo my share because I forget to take the share this out. Here we go. So the title of my presentation today is The Imperative of Digital Skills in Supply Chain Innovation. So I have listened to the discussions early on about society and the digital technologies, the use of online technologies, for example. In this particular talk, I would like to focus more on the supply chain area, a bit more on technology. So perhaps the terminology that you will listen today, it's slightly different from what you have discussed early on. So supply chain, what is a supply chain? For me, a supply chain is pretty simple. It's what it says on the tin. It's a chain of supply. So a chain of supply means that when this customer comes to a shop, for example, buying dates, in this case, lots of dates, and when the supplier supplies the customers, and when the demand of the customers is fulfilled, we say that the goal of supply chain is achieved. So if we then repeat the chain of customer and supplier, or retailer and customers, distributor and retailers, local firm and distributors, here we have the supply chain. So in a simple term, we can define supply chain as a set of 3 or more companies that directly linked by 1 or more of the upstream and downstream. So you can see the downstream is anyone down the line of these manufacturers or focal firm usually. And then the upstream are all the companies before the manufacturer. So the goal of supply chain is obviously, like I mentioned before, is to achieve or to match the supply and demand. But if the goal of supply chain is merely matching the supply and demand, what makes supply chain complex? So there are a couple of reasons for this. And the first reason is this. So if you see in reality, the shape and form of a supply chain is not really a chain, but rather a network, because one supplier may supply more than one customers, and one customer may be supplied by more than one suppliers. So in reality, we are dealing with the complexity of a network rather than a chain. And secondly, there's the so-called demand amplifications, and this is to do with the intransparency or inability of the supply chain to be able to predict the demand at every stage of the supply chain. And this is, later on, you'll see why technology can help dealing with or addressing this problem, demand amplification. And secondly, is actually due to the demand of the customer itself. So imagine when someone wants to drink a bottle of Coke, then it is the customers would want a good quality of Coke, and then it is available immediately, or it has to be available immediately, and it has to be reasonably low cost. So if we take a look at the quality, of course, the product quality will depend on the quality of raw materials and the production processes, but also in terms of supply chain, the quality of the product will depend on the quality of how we handle the product, how we transport the product, and perhaps how we store the product. And in terms of availability or time, it's certainly our colleagues in manufacturing or production area, they would want to make sure that the time to make the product, or in this case, the production time, should be short. And this is why we're learning lean manufacturing or just-in-time production. However, when the product is produced and distributed to our customers through our distribution channels, it will depend on the time to handle the product inside the warehouse. It may also depend on the time to transport the products along our distribution channels. We talk about the cost. It's certainly what determines the cost of a product. It will be the cost of raw materials and cost of production. But when the product is already produced, it will depend on many things. For instance, the cost of transporting the products from supplier to customers, cost of warehouse space in this case, perhaps cost of labor to handle the products, cost to store the products, insurance, and also cost of inventory. Again, this inventory cost is due to, it's part of the way we absorb the uncertainty in the supply chain. So that when we bring the element of the cost and also delivery, the goal of supply chains then becomes a little bit more complex here, that we can say that the main goal now to match the supply and demand, but with the lowest total cost and fastest delivery. So that then makes the supply chain, which include manufacturers, can be more complex than before. Now, to handle this complexity, at least since 10 years ago in Europe, there has been a movement towards automation. I'm sure you are all familiar with Industry 4.0. So this is just part of the way we handle complexity in manufacturing and production systems by inventing some technologies. So I'd like to show this video to you on how to handle this complexity.
A vision of tomorrow's manufacturing. Products finding their way independently through the production process. In intelligent factories, machines and products communicate with each other, cooperatively driving production. Raw materials and machines are interconnected within an Internet of Things. The objective, highly flexible, individualized and resource-friendly mass production. That is the vision for the fourth industrial revolution. A bottling plant for liquids set up together with Siemens is used to demonstrate the most important components of the intelligent factory of the future. Each bottle contains an RFID chip storing a precise description of how it has to be processed, which liquid, which lid, and which label. At each station, the bottle communicates directly with the machine, telling it how it has to be processed. At the end, a computer checks whether the bottle has actually been produced as desired. Factories with networked machines and products are already in existence today. In the future, however, these hitherto self-contained systems will be connected together in a comprehensive network. All devices, machines, and materials will be duly equipped with sensors and communications technology and connect to each other. These systems are known as cyber-physical systems. The highlight is that they communicate with each other and also control each other cooperatively. For the customers, this means tailor-made products at relatively affordable prices. For industry, it means highly flexible mass production that can be rapidly adapted to market changes, because in the future, product life cycles will be even shorter. Another reason why it's increasingly important to depict engineering across the entire life cycle. Maintenance, for instance, is planned in from the very start.
Okay, so that video is in 2013. So Industry 4 is ongoing and is developed now. What you see there, smart products finding their way independently in the production process. So a bottle tells the machine what to do on that particular bottle, what label, and so on. So because they have, the bottle is equipped with RFID chips, sensor machine can recognize it, can recognize the sensors, machine can control each other, and so on. So this is through the IoT, which we are all familiar now. And these are some examples in manufacturing, robotics, predictive maintenance, machine as a service, big data, and so on. So question is that, what does this mean in terms of advanced technology? What does the advanced technology in manufacturing means to supply chains? So if you look at the analogy or the diagram of supply chains that I mentioned early on, manufacturing being the focal firm, they have the main role of producing the products, and supply chains has the main roles to distribute the products throughout the distribution channels. So it means that if our factories become smarter in the future, then it means that these factories would also demand the supply chain and the distribution channels to be more smart, it will be smarter too. So this is where the idea that we require the so-called digital supply chain, which in essence, looking at the exchange of information digitally to enhance the communications between the members of the supply chain, which includes manufacturing, logistics, warehousing, retailers, and so on. And the key elements of digital supply chain will include procurement, smart warehousing, autonomous logistics, analytics, and so on. So we look at these elements now, the use of digital supply chain in terms of on-demand sourcing, and this is the far left of our diagram in the supply chain. With the digital technologies, we can digitally integrate suppliers into our systems. We can use the vendor-managed inventory, for example, to improve delivery, to reduce cost, and the machine can order spare parts when needed and arrange the best maintenance for repair and scheduling. In terms of logistics to factories, so we bring the stuff to the factories, and this is called inbound logistics. It allows our logistics and transportation to improve visibility and transparencies. to anticipate disturbances, to strategically optimize the route, the network, so that they can bring our raw materials, the raw materials to our factories, and to alert maybe our warehouses when we deliver our products to our customers for potential delay and execution mitigation actions. Now, in terms of warehousing itself, so if we have a warehouse, then we can also use many smart technologies, for instance, the use of drones, the use of wearables and augmented realities in our warehouse systems in order to improve our warehouse operations. Now, in terms of spare parts management inside our warehouse, we can also use, for example, warehouse management systems, advanced warehouse management systems, in order to optimize our deliveries to our customers. And also perhaps we could use the 3D printing to allow on-demand production or on-demand deliveries to our customers. And finally, when we touch on, when we deliver our products to our customers, we can also use last-mile logistics technologies, for instance, drones, Uber-like business models, robots, and so on. So in my cities here in Milton Keynes and the UK, we have lots of robots delivering products to the customers nowadays. And in summary, when we compare the traditional and digital supply chain, it's now clear that the digital supply chain allows us to improve transparencies and therefore reduce uncertainties, reduce the so-called demand amplification effect. You see, I mentioned early on, what makes supply chain complex is because of the demand amplification. So the use of digital technologies in supply chain would reduce the demand amplifications because now we can improve transparencies in our supply chain. We can also improve communications, improve flexibility, improve our responsiveness to the change of customer demands, and certainly we can improve collaboration amongst the supply chain actors. However, these technologies have brought some potential challenges to the organizations in terms of security risks. Obviously, when we open up our digital channels and digital technologies, that could bring some privacy risks to us. And also some other IT technical issues in terms of business process integration and compatibilities, financial implications, of course, because we have to think about our investment in terms of these technologies. But more importantly, as we all know, that this will bring issues in terms of skills or human issues. And when we talk about skills and human issues, the main issue is actually our digital readiness. In our recent research, we identified 6 important elements in terms of digital readiness. And certainly people is one of the important part of this readiness. And this then brought us to the next part of our technology development. Now in Europe, we are moving on towards the so-called Industry 5.0. And this Industry 5.0 put emphasis on the 3 things, certainly human being the center of the transformation, and not only the technologies, but also the combination or the integration between human and technologies becomes more and more important. And that then brings the issues of resilience. Because of this integration, that it brings more resilience, more agility, and more flexible and adaptable technologies to help human beings. And that then hopefully brings the sustainability, not only in terms of environmental sustainability, but also social sustainability. So why Industry 5? So basically the main thing when we are in industrial world, certainly we are we're working all the time towards the reduction of cost due to resource efficiency, but also more importantly, we want to improve safety and well-being. We want to empower workers in terms of, so that then they can remain in control of the environment. And so that, of course, we will improve our competitive edge improving our industry by allowing adaptable training for everyone involved in these technologies or in industry. So then that brings us to the last part of this presentation. I'm going to introduce the European Digital Competence Network. We are starting to adopt this network here in the UK too, in terms of how we can improve our digital competence. There are 5 areas in this digital competence, which includes the information and data literacy, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and also problem solving. And in terms of competence, we can expand that into 21 competencies that make up the digital competence. Again, I would like to invite you to read this document. If you search Digital Competence Network, it's really good documents developed by the European Union. Then that brings us to the last part, which is the proficiency level. So from areas, competence, and also the proficiencies for each competence. So then us as a university education providers, we can then put the right measures in order to improve the proficiencies of our students and our society too on digital technologies. So what we can then summarize from here is that Industry 5 has recognized that the power of human being, the power of society, power of individuals becoming the center of the transformation. It will then recognize the power of industry to achieve societal goal. Yeah, so not only the goal of industry or business or commerce, but also the goal of the society, beyond jobs on growth, to become a more resilient provider of prosperity by making production system respect the boundaries of our planet. Again, this is the sustainability, environmental society sustainability goals, and placing the well-being of the industry worker at the center of the production process. If you wanted to know more about Industry 5.0, I suggest you to look at this document. So with that, then I will end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Benny, for the overwhelming presentation. Please give applause. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now we come to the question and answer session. Because of the limited time that we have today, I will open for 3 questions maybe. So if there is one of you who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you, Bu Rizky. Please. Do you have a microphone? Okay, thank you.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Good morning, Prof. Benny. My name is Rizky, and I want to ask maybe 2 questions. First, how can digital skills in supply chain innovation can improve human productivity in the progress of small and medium enterprise? And for second questions, as you giving some that in industrial that you know that mathematical optimizations and machine learning use that provides the intelligence provide the intelligence so that some kind of technologies, digital technologies, can give this smart products as the best planning decisions in supply chains. But as you know, sometimes some people just think that some kinds of like digital immersive technology just a game. But I think that it can solve some complex problem in supply chain. So how can we motivate the people that an immersive technology digital technology can improve human productivity, because as we know that it can reduce costs, it can reduce some security risks while we use that immersive technology. Yes, I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Rizky, for the question. Okay, Prof. Benny.
Thank you. So I'm going to answer the second one first because that relates to the first one. In answering that question, I'm actually going to meet a company today, Unipart in the UK, and they are committed to using these immersive technologies, AR and VR, for their warehouse operatives. Like I said to you before, this technologies is no longer new. We are all using it in games, but also in production systems, for instance, in the warehouse. And the main aim or the main goal of that is to help human beings. So in the past, we were driven by the use of the technologies for the sake of using technologies. But now they're really careful when they want to develop these technologies, because they are putting human being, in this case, as operators, as the center of the transformation. And one way, one way that they are doing it is by by thoroughly testing the technologies and designing the technologies to meet or to fit the way people work, not the other way around. Yeah. So that's interesting, because we always think that we will learn how to use technologies for the sake of using technologies. But what this company is doing is actually the other way around. They're doing lots of testing testing with the potential warehouse operators on how they are performing the jobs, and how the AR technologies can help them and fit the way they work, not the other way around. So in this way, I hope you can realize that actually the world is moving towards this Industry 5.0, whereas in the past we are focusing more on the technologies, but now technologies are there, yeah, but we want the technologies to fit the way we work. Now, that would then brings to the first question: how then these small and medium companies can tap on these technologies? Of course, like I said to you before, it's not a straightforward adaptation and adoption, because it requires the readiness. There are 6 things that I am saying to you before in terms of digital and readiness technologies. People being one, investment being the others. If we want to develop these technologies, of course, it will involve some investment. However, before these small and medium companies put a lot of investment in this, we need to check whether these technologies are really needed. Yeah. Maybe we don't need this kind of technologies. So that then brings me to the second example. There is a company in Indonesia. This company is actually a supplier of a UK companies, UK aerospace company. And the company in Indonesia was asked to adopt sophisticated technologies so that then the UK companies can integrate with them in terms of production systems. So what the company in Indonesia said, I'm sorry, we cannot follow you, because the products that you ask us to deliver is too simple, is too straightforward in terms of features. And therefore, if we have to invest in these technologies, it will be too much for us. Until you ask us to develop a much more advanced product that will require the technologies, we will stay where we are. So that's, I hope that these 2 interesting stories of the 2 companies answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one more question. Okay, please, Mas Dennis, please.
Hello, good morning, Prof. Benny.
Good morning.
From Indonesia. Unusa? I have one question. One of the challenges in supply chain system in Indonesia is part of transportation system or delivery the goods or item. Mostly in supply chain, digitalization is the manufacturer part. Is there any chance that this digitalization can involve in the transportation part? Thank you, Prof.
Well, I mean, my answer to that is it's already there in some way or another. If you look at the development of companies like Gojek, for example, yeah, that's just a clear application of digital technologies, and therefore I can see that in the future this technology will be more and more developed along with the development of the physical infrastructure. I think I must say that Indonesia now is growing and moving very fast in that direction. So I have no doubt that in the next 1, 2, or 3 years, the development or advancement of digital technology in transportation and logistics is going to be even more advanced. So yes, certainly the answer to that is yes.
Okay, one more question, please.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam.
Stand up, please. Stand up, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Altor. Okay, hello, Prof. My name Tobing from Analyst Department Program. In the area of the Industrial Revolution, which is increasingly sophisticated in the future, the industrial need for labor will decrease on and will be replaced by machine. What needs to be prepared for the UNOSA generation to deal with it? And then to a second question, how to optimize your digital supply chain, transform your business? Thank you, Prof. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The answers could be different. The answer could be depends on who's answering the questions. In my opinion, digital skills are keys to this transformation. No doubt that when we say, look, everything depends on human, but also human being needs to move on. And particularly if I look at the Indonesian situation, by 2030, 2040, we are actually entering the so-called golden population, because all the Generation Z will play a more important role in that. And I have already seen an advancement, the fast development, not only in technology but also human being. So our Gen Z now, it's great. So in terms of language, in terms of committing to use technologies, so I've no doubt that in the next few years, this is even more. So I disagree in the sense that it will replace the human being to some extent. It will, but when the generation changes, the needs and the requirements will also change. So by the time 2030, 2040, the generation itself will determine, in my opinion, will determine what's right for them, what's good for them, and therefore the technologies will go and will live hand in hand with the human beings. And our fear, I think, we should not fear the worst, like in the movies, than the Terminator movies, for example. Yeah. So that's my opinion, Pat. So we'll see in 2030 what happens, but in my opinion, it will go hand in hand with the human being.
Okay, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give applause to the presenter. And then finally, we are in the end of this agenda. Before closing the conference, I want to draw a conclusion from what the Prof. Penny has already said to us. In short, supply chain management has become a very important field in the business world because the supply chain function is directly related to the competitiveness of the company. With the development of digital world, companies that want to survive must prepare professionals who are able to understand how to manage supply chains in this digital era. Thank you very much. And the next agenda is there's a certificate, Prof. Penny, that will be given by our rector, Professor Dr. Engineer Ahmad Jazidi, Master of Engineering. The floor is yours. Committee, where's the certificate? Please show us.
Very good morning, Pak Benny.
Very good morning, Prof. Jazidi. Very nice to see you again.
Thank you. Let's stop using bahasa Indonesia ya.
Boleh, Pak.
Terima kasih Pak Benny.
Terima kasih, Pak.
Dua kali Pak Benny memberikan pencerahan kita semua.
Terima kasih.
We enjoy your talk. Pencerahan tentang industri 5.0.
Ya, ini baru ujung-ujungnya saja, Pak.
Apa ini?
Maybe next time we have more time, kita bisa membahas yang lebih detail.
Really, if you have time, please visit us in Surabaya. Okay.
Terima kasih, Pak. Terima kasih undangannya.
Thank you. Is it right? Your photo?
Betul, Pak. That's my photo.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, give applause to Prof. Benny Cahyono. Okay, I would like to thank the speaker for the informative and interesting presentation on all of the beautiful participants for the active and interactive participants. So please give applause, big applause to the presenter. And I give it back to Master of Ceremony. Thank you. Allahumma fiq ila komitorik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you to Mr. Nailul and Prof. Benny. And ladies and gentlemen, now we will announce awards for the best paper and the best oral presentation. Okay, we have 20 names for 20 winners. Best Paper Awards, iConASET 2022 goes to first room, Farida Umama and Uliatul Laili. Second room, Erika Martining Wardani and Anif Munjida. Third room, Imamatul Faiza and Rahma Dinar Aditya Putri. Fourth room, Eka Wilda Faida and Ersalina Nidianti. Fifth room, Ubaidillah Zuhdi and Rizky Nurmalia Kardina. And then for Best Oral Presentation Award, iConASET 2022 goes to first room, Ilya Krisnana and Lailatul Husnul Rizki. Second room, Rusdianingsih and Hilyati Zahro. Third room, Uke Maharani and Ratna Ayu Ratri Wardani. Fourth room, Yurika Septianingrum and Ari Andini. Fifth room, Rahma Rizkina Mardotillah and Nurul Latifatul Aziza. All the winners will get certificate and voucher e-commerce. Congratulations for the winners. And now we will close the iConASET International Conference on Applied Science, Education and Technology 2022, the challenges facing society 5.0. We would like to welcome the head of LPPM UNUSA to present the closing speech, Mr. Ahmad Shafiuddin, PhD. The floor is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Rector UNUSA, Prof. Ahmad Yazidi, the Honorable Deans, Directors, Head of Department, Lectures, the Honorable Keynote Speakers, Prof. Benny from UK, Dr. Suma from Malaysia, Dr. Wardah from Indonesia UNUSA, the Honorable everyone to be here in this room, thank you very much. Okay, I'm share my closing statement to this conference. Before I start my speech, thank you very much for everyone, for the team and Chairman Committee, Ari Andini, and her team of iConASET, and everyone to support the successful of iConASET this year. And hopefully, this conference will contribute significantly for the advancement of knowledge for all participants and for all communities joining via offline and join via Zoom, and of course for in YouTube, for example. And for the next year, we hope this conference will be more successful, and the participants maybe will be enjoyable during the next conference. And there is the next step after this conference finish, the opportunity to publish the selected paper in high reputable journals, because we have many international journal partners, and for the next we can prepare for the publishings, discussing with the editor-in-chief how we can do for the next how to publish the papers, for example. So finally, again, thank you very much, and also we hope for the keynote speakers, participants, thank you very much for sharing the ideas, the result of your intensive research for this today's conference that we held in UNUSA. And I think this conference is well managed by the committee, and also the participant is very attractive, and also the keynote speakers delivers a very important knowledge for the society. Again, thank you very much, and see you again the next year for the iConASET next year. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Shafiuddin, and thank you so much for today, and see you on the next iConASET 2023. And now, jajane dibagi-bagi mumpung durung kadaluarsa. Ingat ilmu, sains, dan teknologi, ya ingatnya pada UNUSA. Mencari angsa pakai kebaya, semoga UNUSA semakin jaya. Wallahul muwafiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kami mohon untuk berkenan berfoto bersama Pak Rektor, Pak Safi, dan para speaker, dan mengingatkan kembali kepada seluruh peserta untuk berkenan mengisi presensi di link yang telah disediakan oleh panitia.